welcome to our AP World History Show. Special thanks to our sponsor, Mr. Honeycutt. Today I'm going to be interviewing a few special AP World History veterans. They're going to be talking about things such as test tips and acing the AP World History exam, and none other than being successful in this class. Okay, now let's bring out our AP World History veterans. Carson, Nick, and Will. Okay, so our first topic that we're going to be talking about today is when you were in 9th grade. What are some important Okay, so our first topic today is going to be when you were in 9th grade. What are some important facts you need to know before signing up for AP World History?
You definitely need to know that confidence breeds success.
Also, just because you didn't take AP Human or some other AP class this year in 9th grade, you're not going to be in a lot of trouble for AP World. You can adapt and do fine.
I think it's important to know that this class requires a lot of reading. Outside of class, it's going to be a significant time commitment.
I think it's also important to know that you're not going to have a lot of other homework assignments on top of the reading, so if you focus on the reading, you should be fine. Robbie, what do you think?
Well, most importantly, from the change of 9th grade to 10th grade, the class requires a lot of outside reading and a lot of sacrifice outside of school, such as with your time and your sleep, and you just got to be ready for it.
Okay, our second topic is going to be if only you had known. So what are some things that you wish you knew about the class?
I definitely wish that I knew how to study and review and make flashcards and read the study guide, because without that, you're not going to do very well.
I wish I would have known how to take reading notes earlier on, how to make sure your topics are somewhere you can see them easily. That way you can get to it fast during a reading quiz, and also make sure you try out different ways to take the notes. That way you can find which way works best for you.
I wish I had known that when you're taking notes over a chapter or in class, you don't have to write down everything, because it's not going to work, because when you try and study that later on, it's too much information to try and go over. So you need to learn how to summarize when you're taking notes.
And coming from a pre-AP class, I wish I would have known how to study for these types of tests. These tests are a lot harder than what we did in pre-AP, so I wish I would have known how many days in advance that you actually had to study for the test. Robbie?
I wish I knew how to take the reading quizzes, because you're actually timed. You're given 8 minutes for 12 questions, 12 multiple choice questions, and then 1 short answer. And one thing that I wish I knew is if you don't know the answer, just skip it. And if you don't know the short answer, you're going to have to just give it your best guess and don't leave any blanks, because that's the worst thing you can do.
Okay, now we're going to talk about regrets. What are some of your biggest regrets this year?
My biggest regret is not doing any quiz corrections, because I never felt like I had the time, but you always have time to make an A.
A lot of times they tell you, oh yeah, always do your stuff ahead, and so sometimes I took that to the extreme and would start studying way too early, and you don't want to do it way too early, because then a lot of times you'll end up forgetting that information because you learned it so long ago.
I wish I would have spent more time studying the vocab and the acronyms for the tests, because that's a more significant part of the test than you realize going in.
One of my biggest regrets was not actually getting into a study group earlier than maybe the last test. It helped a lot for the last test, but if I would have gotten into a study group earlier, I would have understood some of the information that I wouldn't have picked up by myself. Robbie?
My biggest regret is waiting the night before to study and take the notes for the quizzes, because some of them I didn't do too well on, and that's probably the reason why.
Okay, let's talk about how you guys feel about time management.
When you're reading the chapter and taking notes,
Definitely just write the vocab and maybe a couple key things from the chapter, but don't try and write down the whole chapter because you won't, and it hurts your hand a lot, and it's not worth the carpal tunnel.
Alright, also for parents, don't stress out your kids too much about this class. Like, give them reminders every once in a while, but like, if you put on a ton of stress, then it's gonna make them do worse in the class, so just chill out with them.
And as far as taking the reading notes, I think it's important to get a little bit done every day, because if you try and read an entire chapter and absorb all that information in one day, it's just too much for you to take in all at once.
Use your planner religiously. I know these boys don't, but use your planner religiously because that is what keeps you on note for what you need to turn in. Robbie?
Okay, one big tip. Parents, do sign up for Remind 101. So your kids are going to do it, and they're going to get the text from their teachers about upcoming assignments. And if you know it as well, you can remind them and help them and make sure they don't slack off.
Okay guys, how do you succeed on tests?
Something I did is I used my study guide like throughout different reading quizzes, and then like I would highlight throughout taking and reading these chapters in the book, and then once I got to the test, I would just look over what I have highlighted, and that was really helpful because it only gave me the information I needed, and I didn't have to read through a bunch of excess stuff. So these are really useful for all your tests.
Also, there's a lot of online resources that can be really helpful, like watching Get a 5 videos. That helps me a lot, especially on combo tests. Just watching the intro video for each period will help jog your memory, and then also taking online quizzes and watching videos that helps a lot.
You need to budget your time like very, very, very precisely because there's a lot of questions in a finite amount of time, and you may not be able to answer all of them the first time. So just use that as like a training method to figure out how much time you need to spend on each question and what type of questions like you get hung up the most on.
And for period tests, when we're going over them in class, it's a really good idea to take notes because the questions that you get wrong are most likely going to be on the combo tests because the combo tests are made up of questions from the period tests. So make sure you don't blow off whenever we go on over the tests. Just make sure that you take some good notes. Robbie, what do you think?
Oh, hi. Okay. My tips for test success. You gotta know your acronyms and your vocabulary for each period because that's part of the writing section of your test, and that basically is 30% of the test. You wanna get that right, you wanna know it, so you need 100.
Okay, acing the AP exam. How do we do that?
Well, one of my best tips is that during your essays, make sure you plan out a lot. Like go straight to the FRQs and just dump all your memory that you have about those things, like put down your acronyms and also like circle keywords and make sure you answer the prompt. Also keep track of your time, and if you have to, put like timestamps, plan timestamps for when you're gonna do each essay.
I think actually doing all of the review projects that are assigned to you at the end of the year is really helpful because they're there to help you doing assignments like the timelines and the vocab matching trios and the cram packets. That's just basically a review of everything you've learned this year, helping you put it all together. So actually do those assignments. It really helps a lot.
Carson?
I would definitely save the DBQ for last because I've nicknamed it the time eater.
And also before the test, just don't cram. Get some sleep, please, because it's not going to help you. You're not going to learn a whole year of information in one night. Robbie?
Well, my advice for acing the AP exam would be you gotta eat some protein the night before, like some fish, like salmon. I had salmon the night before. And basically you want to get some sleep, you want to eat protein so you can have a lot of energy for the test because studies have shown that during the test, scores have gotten lower as the test has progressed.
Okay, now I'm here to tell you about what not to do. Don't be like us.
If you're actually gonna do the reading notes, which you should, don't just like rush through them to try to get them over with. Like actually comprehend them if you're willing to do them.
And don't wait to start on the reading notes until the night before the quiz because you can't absorb that much information and it's just not going to work. You're going to make yourself miserable.
On your tests, definitely study the vocab because there were a couple times where I never did any vocab and I might have actually had an A on the test had I gotten those 2 or 3 vocab questions correct.
I stress this so many times. Don't cram the night before the test. It's not going to help you, and I can tell you that from personal experience. Robbie?
Okay, don't be like me. On the weekends, I did nothing at all. You don't want to do that. On the weekends, you want to do a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit, just so your week upcoming isn't cram-packed full of work.
Special thanks to our AP World History veterans for coming and being a part of this lovely talk show that we have here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.